False divinity. The void of space stretched endlessly before the UES Prometheus as it completed its survey mission at the edge of the Orion Arm. Captain Sophia Rice sat in her command chair, eyes focused on the holographic display that hovered before her, showing the data collected from the recently discovered exoplanet system. "Captain, we're picking up unusual energy readings from the seventh planet," Lieutenant Commander Ibarra announced from his science station, his dark eyes narrowed in concentration. "It's like nothing I've ever seen before." Rice nodded, brushing a strand of silver-streaked black hair from her face. After 20 years in the United Earth Space Force, she'd learned that unusual often meant either fascinating or dangerous. Sometimes both. "On screen, Commander." The main view screen shifted to display a gas giant with swirling storms of amber and violet. But what drew everyone's attention was the massive structure orbiting it, a gleaming construct that resembled a series of interconnected rings, each spinning at different rates around a pulsing core of blinding white light. "Is that artificial?" Rice asked, rising from her chair. "Definitely," Ibarra confirmed. "And it's generating enough power to move a small planet." Before they could investigate further, the ship's AI spoke in its calm, measured voice. "Captain, we are being scanned by an unknown source. The scan is penetrating all standard defensive measures." Security Chief Mira Lin immediately activated defensive protocols. "Shields at maximum. Shall I power weapons systems?" Rice raised a hand. "Not yet. Let's not appear hostile until we know what we're dealing with." The decision came a moment too late. A burst of energy erupted from the ringed structure, not as an attack, but as a gateway. A vessel emerged, sleek, crystalline, and impossibly graceful, trailing wisps of what looked like liquid starlight. It dwarfed the Prometheus by a factor of at least 15. "Open communications," Rice ordered. "Standard first contact protocols." Communications Officer Patel worked her console. "Channel open, Captain." The view screen flickered, and a figure appeared. It was vaguely humanoid, but composed of what looked like condensed light given form. Its face had no distinguishable features except for 2 points of intense blue radiance where eyes would be on a human. "Humanity," the being spoke, its voice resonating not just through the speakers, but somehow directly in their minds. "At last you have reached beyond your cradle. We are the Ascended, shepherds of 1,000 worlds, guardians of cosmic harmony. Your species has been observed since you first gazed at the stars with understanding." Rice stepped forward. "This is Captain Sophia Rice of the United Earth ship Prometheus. We greet you in peace and friendship." The being made a gesture that might have been dismissal. "Peace is guaranteed to those who accept guidance. Friendship implies equality. We are not your equals, Captain. We are your gods." A murmur ran through the bridge crew. With respect, Rice replied carefully, "Humanity does not acknowledge any beings as gods. We recognize your advanced technology and welcome cultural exchange, but not gods." The being interrupted, a note of amusement in its resonant voice. "What is a god but a being of superior power and knowledge? Observe." The view screen split to show the ascended ship turning toward a small moon orbiting the gas giant. A beam of pure energy lanced from the vessel to the moon. In seconds, the dead rock was transformed. Oceans formed, atmosphere coalesced, and vegetation sprouted in visible waves across its surface. "Creation," the being stated simply. "Now, destruction." Another beam struck a different moon, and it disintegrated into cosmic dust. "This is but a fraction of our capability," the Ascended continued. "We have guided countless species to enlightenment. Those who embraced our wisdom evolved beyond their primitive forms. Those who rejected it are no more." Rice maintained her composure, though her hands had tightened into fists at her sides. Impressive demonstrations. But power alone does not make gods. It makes you powerful aliens with advanced technology. For the first time, the light being's serene demeanor faltered. The blue points of its eyes flared momentarily. Your arrogance is typical of young species. We will arrive at your homeworld in 7 cycles. Prepare your leaders to receive our emissaries and the protocols of ascension. Resistance would be unwise. The transmission ended abruptly. Set course for Earth, maximum speed. Rise ordered immediately, and get me everything we have on that ship and that structure. As the Prometheus accelerated to FTL speeds, the senior staff gathered in the conference room. The atmosphere was tense but focused. Chief Engineer Dr. Elena Takahashi activated a holographic model of the ascended ship. Their tech is unlike anything in our databases, but there are patterns here. The energy signatures they're putting out are unnecessarily visible, almost as if they're deliberately making their technology seem more mystical than it is. Science Officer Ibarra nodded in agreement. And did you notice how they broadcast their transmission? They're using quantum entanglement communications, but with a deliberate resonance pattern that affects the theta waves in our brains. It's designed to create awe, even fear. Psychological warfare, Security Chief Lin observed. Make us believe they're gods so we don't even consider fighting back. Exactly, Rice said. But no matter how advanced they are, they're still using technology. And all technology has limitations and vulnerabilities. Dr. Takahashi manipulated the hologram. I've been analyzing their energy output during that moon transformation. There's a pattern to the fluctuations. They're channeling enormous power, yes, but their distribution network has to cycle through specific sequences. There are microseconds of vulnerability between cycles. Can we exploit that? Rise asked. Takahashi's expression was grim but determined. Theoretically, yes. But we'd need precise timing and a way to deliver a concentrated energy pulse exactly when their shields cycle. Start working on it, Rise ordered. We have 7 days before they reach Earth. The next days were a blur of activity. As the Prometheus raced toward Earth, news of the encounter spread rapidly. Global panic ensued, with religious groups declaring the end times, governments mobilizing military assets, and civilians hoarding supplies or fleeing to remote areas. The United Earth Council convened an emergency session. On the main screen, the face of Council President Amara Okafor appeared grave. Captain Rice, your report has been thoroughly reviewed. Some council members advocate surrender to these ascended beings to avoid potential destruction. Madam President, I strongly advise against that, Rice responded. Everything we've learned suggests that submission would mean the end of human autonomy forever. They don't want partners, they want subjects. And you believe we can oppose beings capable of transforming worlds? Okafor asked skeptically. We can, Rice said with conviction. My team has identified weaknesses in their technology. With your authorization, I propose Operation Nemesis. Rice outlined the plan. It was audacious, even desperate, but it was built on solid analysis of the Ascended's technology and tactics. After hours of debate, the Council narrowly approved it. Earth mobilized with unprecedented unity. The 3 other advanced warships in Earth's fleet, the Odysseus, Valkyrie, and Tiamat, were equipped with specially modified quantum resonance emitters designed by Takahashi's team. Civilian evacuation to hardened shelters began worldwide. As the 7th day dawned, long-range sensors detected the ascended ship entering the solar system, its crystalline form gleaming against the blackness of space like a shard of divine fire. 3 smaller vessels of similar design accompanied it. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Communications Officer Paddle reported. The message is repeating in every human language. Prepare for ascension. Resistance means purification. Rice looked around at her crew, seeing determination on every face. All ships move into formation. Operation Nemesis begins now. The 4 human warships took position at the edge of Mars' orbit as the ascended fleet approached. Outnumbered, outgunned, and facing technology centuries beyond their own, humanity prepared to challenge false gods. Human ingenuity unleashed. The ascended fleet moved with perfect synchronization, their crystalline vessels reflecting the light of Sol in blinding prismatic patterns. As they approached Mars' orbit, they slowed, almost as if in deliberate display of their overwhelming confidence. "They're scanning us," Lieutenant Commander Ibarra reported from his station. "Comprehensive sweep across all systems." Captain Rice nodded. "As expected. Let them see our conventional defenses. Security Chief Lin, make it look good." Lin smiled tightly. "Already on it, Captain. Our shields are cycling through standard military configurations. Nothing to suggest we've made any special modifications." The main view screen activated without prompt, and the luminous form of the ascended representative appeared. Humanity persists in defiance, the being observed, its voice resonating directly in their minds again. "A noble but meaningless gesture. Your vessels are noted in our archives as primitive defensive platforms, incapable of harming our divine fleet." Rice stood, facing the screen directly. "We are the United Earth Defense Force. We stand ready to protect our world from any threat, even self-proclaimed gods. Gods do not proclaim themselves, human. Reality proclaims us." The being's light form pulsed with what might have been amusement. "Your species requires a demonstration of true power before you will accept guidance. Before you act," Rice replied, "know that we have studied your technology carefully. Your power generation systems, your shield modulations, your weapons, all follow patterns. Patterns can be predicted. Predicted things can be countered." For the first time, the ascended being showed something other than serene superiority. The points of light that served as its eyes narrowed slightly. "You cannot comprehend our technology, much less counter it. Your primitive analysis is like an insect attempting to understand the cosmos." "Test us," Rice challenged. The transmission cut abruptly. Moments later, the lead ascended vessel fired a brilliant beam of energy toward the Prometheus. "Evasive maneuvers, pattern Nemesis Alpha," Rice ordered. The Prometheus veered sharply, the beam grazing its shields but not penetrating. The other Earth ships scattered in apparent disarray, exactly as planned. "They're targeting the Valkyrie now," Lin reported. All ships reporting minimal shield damage. On the tactical display, the 4 human vessels appeared to be fleeing in panic, breaking formation, and seemingly acting independently. A response the Ascended had likely seen countless times from other species they had subjugated. "Phase 1 complete," Rice announced. "Execute Phase 2. Deep within the Prometheus, Dr. Takahashi activated the experimental quantum resonance emitter. Based on their analysis of the Ascended technology, the device began broadcasting precisely modulated signals that matched the frequency patterns of the alien shields, but with a crucial phase difference. QRE active and synchronized," Takahashi reported over the comm. "Detecting interference patterns in their shield matrix. It's working, Captain." On the Ascended flagship, alarms that had not sounded in millennia began to wail. The luminous being turned to its subordinates in confusion. "Shield integrity fluctuating on decks 7 through 23, a lesser Ascended reported. "Unknown interference pattern detected." "Impossible," the leader dismissed. "Their primitive technology cannot affect our divine protection." Back on the Prometheus, Rice watched the tactical display with intense focus. "All ships, execute Nemesis Beta. Target their power distribution nodes with pulse cannons only, maximum precision." The 4 Earth warships abruptly reversed course, no longer fleeing but pursuing a coordinated attack pattern. The Odysseus and Tiamat targeted the smaller Ascended vessels, while the Prometheus and Valkyrie approached the flagship from opposite vectors. The human ships fired, not with overwhelming force, but with surgically precise energy pulses calibrated to the exact frequency needed to penetrate the temporarily destabilized sections of the Ascended shields. The pulses struck exactly at the junctions where power was routed to their weapon systems. On the Ascended flagship, chaos erupted as systems began failing across the vessel. Consoles erupted with warnings, and the brilliant light that suffused the ship flickered ominously. "Impossible," the leader thundered. its mental voice no longer serene but filled with rage and disbelief. They cannot penetrate divine protection. Recalibrate shields and return fire. But the damage was done. The precise attacks had disrupted the Ascended power distribution network, creating cascading failures throughout their fleet. Two of the smaller vessels drifted powerless in space, while the flagship struggled to maintain basic functions. "They're attempting to remodulate their shields," Lin reported. "Adaptive algorithms engaging." This was the critical moment. Military doctrine would call for pressing the advantage, destroying the enemy while they were vulnerable. But Operation Nemesis had a different objective. "All ships, execute Phase 3, Rise ordered." The 4 human vessels pulled back to a defensive formation and activated their specialized communication arrays. Instead of attacking, they broadcast comprehensive technical data detailing exactly how they had identified and exploited the weaknesses in Ascended technology. "This message is being transmitted across all communication frequencies used by your civilization," Rise announced as her face appeared on every screen aboard the Ascended vessels. "We are sharing this information with every world in your domain. Your technological vulnerabilities are now known to all species under your control." On the Ascended flagship, the leader stared in disbelief at the incoming data. For millennia, the Ascended had maintained power through technological superiority and the carefully cultivated myth of divinity. Now, in a single engagement, humans had not only penetrated their defenses, but were systematically dismantling the foundations of their power. "Cease transmission," the leader commanded frantically. "Purify their vessels immediately." "We cannot," another Ascended responded, its light form dimming with what might have been fear. "Primary weapon systems are offline. The humans have specifically targeted our power regulation nodes, a vulnerability that has existed in our design for over 12,000 cycles." For the first time in its long existence, the Ascended leader experienced something it had never expected to feel: genuine fear. Not of the humans themselves, but of what their actions represented: the end of Ascended dominance. The communication screen activated again, showing Captain Reyes' resolute face. "Your vessels are disabled but not destroyed," she stated firmly. "This was our choice. We could have annihilated your fleet, but humanity does not seek destruction, even of those who threatened our existence." The Ascended leader's voice had lost its imperious tone when it finally spoke. "What do you want?" "Recognition of human sovereignty and independence," Rise replied without hesitation, "and the immediate liberation of all worlds under Ascended control. No species deserves to live under the yoke of false gods." "You cannot comprehend the chaos this will cause," the Ascended protested. "For 50,000 cycles, we have maintained order in this sector of the galaxy. Order through deception and fear is no order at all," Rise countered. "The species you've subjugated deserve the chance to determine their own futures. And if we refuse—" Reyes' expression hardened. "Then we finish what we started. Your technology is impressive, but as we've demonstrated, it's not infallible. And now we understand it better than you do." Silence hung in the void between the vessels for long moments before the Ascended leader responded, its light form dimmer than before. "We will consider your terms." 3 days later, representatives from Earth met with the Ascended aboard a neutral platform constructed in Earth orbit. The negotiations were tense but productive. In the end, the Ascended agreed to withdraw from human space permanently and to begin a phased liberation of the 37 worlds under their direct control. As the Ascended fleet departed the solar system, stripped of their divine mystique and forced to treat with humans as equals, Captain Reyes stood in her quarters aboard the Prometheus, gazing at the stars. Admiral Okafor's voice came through her personal comm. "The Council has reviewed the full after-action report, Captain. Your promotion to Admiral will be announced next week, along with commendations for your entire crew." "Thank you, Madam President," Reyes replied. "But the real victory isn't the defeat of the Ascended. It's what comes next." "The Galactic Cooperative," Okafor agreed. Representatives from 7 formerly subjugated worlds have already requested diplomatic relations with Earth. They're calling us the God-breakers. Rise smiled slightly. I prefer truth-seekers. As she ended the communication, Rise reflected on humanity's new place in the galactic community. In one decisive encounter, Earth had proven that humans would neither worship false gods nor become them, a message that was spreading rapidly among the stars. The Ascended had believed themselves divine, only to discover that true power lay not in creating awe through deception, but in the ingenuity, courage, and moral clarity that humanity had displayed. Where the Ascended had sought worshippers, Earth sought partners. And as the stars beckoned, humanity stepped forward not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals ready to build a future where no species would ever again be forced to kneel before false gods. The age of the Ascended was over. The age of humanity had just begun.